All right, here are the tunes. You have a great show.
It's time for Success Profiles Radio with your host, Brian K. Wright. Have you ever wondered if there's more to life than you're currently living? Then Success Profiles Radio is the program for you. Every week, we'll explore different aspects of success and how to apply them to your life. Guests will come from many different backgrounds, including expertise in leadership, business, relationships, careers, networking, health, overcoming adversity, and much more. Every show is a dose of inspiration. This is Success Profiles Radio. And now, here's your host, Brian K. Wright.
Hello and welcome to Success Profiles Radio. I'm your host, Brian K. Wright, and it's an absolute pleasure to be with you here today. I'm honored that you chose to spend part of your day with me here, and this is going to be a fantastic and amazing show. I will introduce my guest shortly, and I promise this is going to be fun, and we're going to learn a lot along the way. I do want to take a minute or two to share some things I've been learning and thinking about lately, and I typically do this every single week. Gratitude has been a big theme in my life this year. It's very easy to be happy and thankful when things are going well, but the true test of how grateful you are is when things are not going the way you planned. The natural tendency we have is to blame someone or something for our bad circumstances, whether it's our job, the economy, our significant other, the weather, any multitude of reasons. The truth is, however, we are in our current situation for a reason. We may not always know what that reason is. We may discover it later, or it may never be revealed to us at all. Sometimes we are where we are because someone else needs us. The bottom line, however, is that through it all, our response is a choice. When we choose to be grateful for what we have, we soon have more to be grateful for. Choose today to write down 10 things you're thankful for and review that list as often as possible. When we fill our thoughts with gratitude, the results won't be far behind. And if you've not downloaded and subscribed to Success Profiles Radio on iTunes or Apple Podcasts, please do that. Leave a 5-star review. That would be highly appreciated. And I'm just so happy and grateful that you all are here with us today. So let me introduce my guest. His name is Steve Linton. Let me tell you about him. He's a transformational speaker, author, and frequency master expert of the frequency of success, who helps ambitious individuals and organizations achieve breakthrough results by mastering the science of success frequency. A battle-tested expert, he has logged over 16,000 flight hours in 31 years, performed over 17,000 skydiving jumps, and is endorsed by Bob Proctor and Les Brown. He uniquely blends extreme real-world discipline with proven principles for immediate application and lasting impact. He has a book called The Frequency of Success, which we will be talking about during the show. And when he was a broke charter pilot, he was making only $408 every 2 weeks and living paycheck to paycheck. And he had a profound experience when a business partner gave him the gift of limitless belief, which enabled him to generate 103,000 profits in 30 days. We will explore that as well. So we have a lot to talk about today, and I cannot wait to unwrap and unravel all of it. So here's my special guest, Steve Linton. Steve, how are you? Welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks, Brian. I'm glad to be here. I'm super excited about the show today. I'm looking forward to what we get to talk about.
Absolutely. So the first question I love asking is, did you envision early in your life that you'd be where you are right now?
Not a chance. No. I didn't really figure out my path until I was, pretty close to adulthood. So I floundered a lot. And it showed. It showed in my results. So, no, I didn't have a clue I'd be where I am right now.
Fantastic. So tell us a little bit about your career path.
Well, started out, went in the Marine Corps, got out of the Marine Corps, went to college, and my dad was a professional pilot and a air traffic controller. And because of that, I think I automatically caught the aviation gene bug. And that led to wanting to become a pilot. And so I set out, went to college, got a master's degree, all my flight ratings, and then got out of college and I couldn't get a job. The airlines weren't hiring, things were looking pretty bleak, and which leads right into how I ended up so broke and so angry. But, in a matter of, I suppose a less than a year, I met the person that introduced me to some of the principles we'll talk about today. And I'm not going to deny, at first I was extremely skeptical, but absolutely changed my life almost overnight. And what really gave me passion about the whole thing was when I was able to help other people experience what I did.
Fantastic. So, on that note, tell us a little bit about your rock bottom moment and how you got out of it.
Well, it's not very glorifying, sleeping in your car, being broke, not knowing where your next meal or dollar is coming from. And, you pile on top of that a lot of anger because I just felt like, I did what I was told was the right thing to do. You go to college, you get an education, you get out, you get a good job. Well, that's where things fell apart. I got out. I was, over $100,000 in debt from college, and I couldn't get a job. I'm looking around at all these people in these fancy cars and fancy homes, and it just made me angry because what are these people doing? How do they do it? And, I went through the sleeping in my car, eating out of trash cans. And I will tell you that there were more than a couple times that I just thought, I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if I can live my life this way.
Yeah.
What I will say is anybody that goes through that or anything like that, hang on. Hang on. And if you apply some of these principles, your life can turn around.
Absolutely. So tell us about your aha moment. What turned it around?
Well, I suppose the start was when I met a gentleman that placed an ad back in the day when before internet, people advertised with classified ads. I answered an ad that said, "Work from home, earn thousands weekly." And I thought, oh yeah, that's one of those things. And I was reluctant, but I went ahead and answered the ad. And the gentleman that placed the ad, he and I became very good friends. We had a lot in common. He was an aspiring pilot. I was a pilot. He always wanted to skydive. I was a skydiver. And he was an entrepreneur. And I was totally attracted to the life of an entrepreneur, but didn't know how to get there. And we went, he dealt with my negativity. I had a lot of negativity. And he said, "You know what your problem is?" And I said, "What?" And he said, "It's your attitude." I'm like, that at first I was going to argue. And then I realized, you know what? He's right. I do have a terrible attitude. And he turned me on to the principles that I teach now and basically personal development as a whole. And once I started applying the information, it was undeniable. Literally, again, like I said, almost overnight, I could see changes and results, which led me to write my first book, become a seminar speaker, a trainer. And what I really found was passion in helping other people get unstuck, because that's where I was. I was stuck and without any roadmap of how to get unstuck. It wasn't till I stumbled on this that I figured all that out.
That is absolutely beautiful. So how do you help people get unstuck?
It's actually very simple. It's a very simple process. What's not simple is the discipline that it takes to make it happen. And when I say discipline, I can tell you that if you go to the gym and you work out just with discipline and regular, you eat right, you will get in good shape. That's a simple formula.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what's not simple is the discipline it takes to get your butt up every morning, go to the gym, and put in a good workout to where you hurt. Because as you break your muscles down, they rebuild. The same goes here. The simple part is the formula. Energy attracts energy. Like energies attract. It's a simple law of physics. And the good news is it applies to every single person and every single area of anyone's life. I'm talking your personal life, your business life, your relationships, your finances, all that works exactly the same way. But what's not simple is the discipline to do what I tell people it takes to make it. And that's changing your vibration. That's a little bit more involved.
Yeah, absolutely. So why did you decide to become an entrepreneur? I know you met the guy who was an entrepreneur and that fascinated you, but what made you jump into that?
I'll be honest with you. I never could get my mind around all the way back from, my teenage years. I was never really good at, well, I couldn't get my head around working for other people. I'll tell you, I became certified as a welder in high school. I did 2 years of vocational training. I became a certified welder in arc, MIG, and TIG. And I thought that was how I was going to be able to make a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I got out in the workforce and I was making $6 an hour. The
Mm-hmm.
guy sitting next to me doing the exact same job made like 22. And the guy that swept the floor, he made about 13.
Mm.
I just thought, this is stupid. Why? I feel like I'm being taken advantage of. And that's when I first learned that I didn't know the name of it, but I knew I wanted to work for myself.
Mm-hmm.
And, being an entrepreneur was exactly what I wanted to be, as opposed to punching a clock, letting someone else tell me how much I'm worth. I do not discount other people if that's what they like, if that's what the way they're built. But for me, I wanted to be in charge of what my life was like.
Yeah, I think there's something to be said for wanting to control your own destiny, and being an entrepreneur is really the best way for it. You find out how much you actually are worth when you are working for yourself. Absolutely.
If I want to make $50,000 a year, $100,000 a year, or $500,000 a year, that's up to me.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm punching a clock, I get what they tell me I can have.
Yeah,
So it just didn't sit well with me.
absolutely. We've got less than a minute to our first break. What do you think is the highest value skill anyone can learn?
That's a great question. Gratitude.
Hmm.
I'm going to say, so some people might not call that a skill, but I'll tell you what, if you've got gratitude, everything changes. And I think
Absolutely.
that's one thing most people miss.
Fantastic. We're coming up against our break. My very special guest is Steve Linton, and we are going to talk about raising your frequency, having gratitude, manifesting, attraction, and so much more when we come back. This is Success Profiles Radio. Okay, commercials are playing in the background. We can talk privately for about a minute or so.
All right. Well, first of all, thanks for having me again. I appreciate it.
You're so
I was a
welcome.
little nervous. I was like, oh, it's like 2 minutes till, and I still have never talked to this guy.
It's
So
okay. I booted up Zoom and it wanted to update. And I'm like, no, not right now.
Technology. Love it.
yeah,
So
yeah,
yeah, I was waiting for my Zoom to finish updating. That's why I was
yeah,
a
no
minute or
worries.
so after.
The only thing I would have done was sent you a copy of the book just to
Oh,
cover, the book cover. But
yeah.
no biggie.
I've seen a cover. I've seen an image of the book cover. I have watched other interviews that you did with other people, and this topic is fascinating anyway. So show prep was not hard.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely. One time I interviewed Brad Sugars on my show, and this was several years ago. It was right before a new book came out, and there was nothing online about it. I found a bunch of white papers, and I read all of his white papers the night before. And I told him, and I was like, "Oh wow, you really did prepare." I'm like, "Yeah," because he's like, how do you know to ask these questions?" I read all your white papers online last night because I had nothing else to go with.
Live their lives wanting more than they currently have. And this show will clearly demonstrate the principles: if I can do it, you can do it. So let's get back to the show. This is Success Profiles Radio. And here again is your host, Brian K. Wright.
And we are back. This is Success Profiles Radio, and my very special guest this week is Steve Linton. And if you have not gotten my latest book, it's called The Greatest Lessons I Learned from My Coach. It is on Amazon. And one of my favorite books that I've ever had a chance to do is called Success Profiles: Conversations with High Achievers. And that's based on some of the great interviews that have been on this show. And that book is 7 years old right now. I would be really honored if you would go get that. It includes interviews from Darren Hardy, Tom Ziegler, Jack Canfield, and a whole bunch of other really amazing people who have been on this show back in the day. So once again, that is Success Profiles, Conversations with High Achievers. It's on Amazon. Please get it. You won't regret it. So Steve, tell us the story about how you made six figures in 1 month. You were making $408 every 2 weeks, and you all of a sudden were making $100,000 in 30 days. That's a big jump. How did you do it?
This is such a great story, and not because of me.
Right.
I think really once I got all that garbage out of my head and decided to implement these principles and techniques, I started doing pretty well. And to me, pretty well, let's just face it, pretty well is a relative term. $3,000 a month was a lot to me. And I hit $3,000 a month, and I thought, well, if I can make three, I can make five. And this was 100% commission sales business. And I worked my way all the way up to 30,000. I had a $31,000 a month. And I thought, well, geez, if I can do that, I could do 50. And it was, I think, the next month I made a little over $50,000. That's where my belief kind of stopped. And I was sitting in a presentation one night with the gentleman that introduced me to all this. We ended up becoming business partners, and he was leading the presentation for about 120 people. Just a plain old business presentation. I was sitting in the front row off to one side, and he's talking about what's achievable here. And he pointed over to me and he said, you see this guy over here? This guy just made over $50,000 in 1 month. He said, watch this guy, because in the next month or two, you're going to see this guy make over $100,000 in a month. At first, I wanted to kind of scoff it off like, that's crazy. And then about 10 seconds later, it hit me. Why not? Why couldn't I do that? And right there, I tell people that gave me the gift of limitless belief. And I didn't know how I was going to do it. I just knew that I could do it. And then the very next month, I made $103,000, and then went on many months after that to have more consecutive six-figure months. But here's what's important. Again, this is not about me, because what moves me about that story is all the people that I was able to help after that moment, because this is what happened. They looked at me and they said, well, if that guy can do it, I can do it. I'm not the smartest guy. I'm not a brainiac. I don't know what my IQ is, but I had a lot of desire, a lot of passion, and a lot of discipline. And from that moment on, some of the people that I worked with went on to completely shatter my income records, all the way up to the tune of almost $500,000 a month. And that's what this is about. That's what can happen when people use this information.
Yeah. And that sounds a little bit like the story of Roger Bannister breaking the 4-minute mile for the first time.
I talk about that all the time. And it's not until people see it with their own eyes, because the way to, for someone to break that barrier was always here. It's like the Wright brothers. The way to fly an airplane was already here. They just figured out how to arrange things in the right order for the plane to actually fly. Roger Bannister just refused to listen to the naysayers and said, I'm going to do this. And nobody had ever done it before. But guess what? Within 2 weeks, 4 other people had broken the 4-minute mile. And within the next year, 19 people broke the 4-minute mile. Why didn't they do it before? Because they didn't believe it was possible. But when they see one person do it, then everything changes. Wow, it is possible.
Yeah. I think a lot of people were listening to the prevailing science that if you tried running too fast, your heart would explode and you would die.
That was the story back then. And experts said that if a man were to run a mile in under 4 minutes, his heart would explode. Roger Bannister was a med student. He was like, that's foolish.
Yeah, I love that. So you've done a lot of skydiving in your day. I've done it twice and I'm done. I did it to prove that I could.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I did it to prove that I could do it, and it was a long time ago, and I am done. But I want to ask you, how can we learn about life and business from skydiving? Because you have to embrace your fear, right?
Absolutely. There's two things I will tell people. One, you have to face your fear.
Mm-hmm.
My saying is face your fear and do it anyway. And we used to do in that previous company, my business partner and I used to host a skydiving event every year.
Yeah.
And we would take 100, 200 people on their first skydive. And the reason we did that was because once you face a fear that is so prevalent in your life, in your mind, that you really think you're going to die, once you face that, and you don't necessarily have to conquer it, you just have to live harmoniously with that fear, you realize that your fear was unsubstantiated. People get this visual in their mind of what it's going to be like. And the reason they do is because they don't have any authentic, real information, facts to go off of. They don't necessarily know how the parachute works as far as how it's packed, how it comes out of the container, how it opens, and how they're not going to die. They don't necessarily know all those things. So their mind creates this thing. If I jump out of an airplane, the ground's going to rush up at me and my parachute's not going to open. I'm going to be dead. Well, after filming thousands of first-time skydivers, I can tell you that they almost all look exactly the same. There's all that fear right at the door. I mean, terrifying fear. Within 10 seconds of leaving the airplane, it all melts away into this great big smile because all of a sudden they realize it's nothing like I thought.
Yeah.
The ground didn't rush up at me. I didn't feel like I was falling. It was amazing. We were flying. And they get on the ground and they said, that was amazing. I can't believe I was afraid of that. I can't wait to do it again.
Yeah, I remember the second time I skydived, the strings to the parachute got twisted up, and I remembered the training. Just pull the strings apart, and you will spin around until they get straight. I didn't panic. I looked up and went, "Oh, wait, I know what to do."
There you go, muscle memory. That's why we do training. But fear is the number one thing that holds people in mediocrity.
Yeah.
That. And then just knowing how things work makes all the difference in the world.
Fear holds people in mediocrity. That is true.
It's
That is
the
absolutely
number
true.
one thing that holds people in mediocrity because it's not just fear of skydiving. It's fear of failure, fear of success.
Yeah.
But what if I'm successful? Then what? Because I have an old saying, the amount of effort that it takes to get you to the top of your mountain will not be enough to keep you there. Meaning you're going to have to work even harder.
Yeah.
What if I'm successful? Then what? Then I got to work even harder. Fear kills a lot of dreams.
Absolutely, it sure does. That's absolutely fantastic. So why does positive thinking fail?
I'm sorry, what was the question?
Why does positive thinking fail?
Positive thinking is great, but it's not a standalone product. Meaning, it takes a lot more than just positive thinking.
Yeah.
Like I use the example all the time. If we're sitting in the middle of a cabin in the middle of winter and there's no heat, I can sit here and think positively. I want it to be warm. I want it to be warm. It's going to be warm. Until I get up off my butt and go turn the thermostat up or start a fire, it's going to remain cold. Positive thinking isn't enough. You have to apply action. You have to take action.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
That's the biggest reason.
Yeah. Tell us about Bob Proctor's influence on you and how you ended up partnering with him.
Bob was my very first true mentor, other than the gentleman that introduced me to personal development. We had a network marketing company back then, and Bob helped us develop our first program, which is a personal development home study course, and spoke at a lot of our events, did trainings. And then when I actually wrote my first book, which was called How I Made Six Figures in 1 Month, I did a bunch of conference call trainings and things like that. And he would come on and be a guest speaker. he that guy believed in me more than I did myself when I first met him. And that had a profound influence on me and my results. I will never be able to thank him enough.
Absolutely. And his book, You Were Born Rich, is seminal. In fact, on Audible, I bought the You Were Born Rich live seminar, and I've listened to it multiple times, and I get something new every time. Tell me about how that book influenced you.
Um, Not just that book, but I mean, right behind me, I have a huge library of personal development. I mean, everything from Bob Proctor, Jack Canfield, Wayne Dyer, you name it. Even Tom Hopkins, who was a sales guy.
Yeah.
I got quite the library. But Bob, his information, basically, I just looked at it. This information is so simple, and it made so much sense to me. And again, when I first was introduced to it, I kind of poo-pooed it because I thought it's a little too feminine for me. Well, once I got that out of the way and said, things aren't working the way I'm doing it, I might as well give this stuff a chance. I found out this guy is onto something. I mean, this stuff it's simple. And I think where people go wrong is with the discipline. They don't have the discipline to, do the things that are required and do them diligently every single day. Because you take somebody that's, they've plateaued in their business or their relationships or their finances, it doesn't matter. Applying this information can change all of that. And again, it's a simple law of physics. But Bob's information to me was just so simple. And that's what really got me to dive in to all the other speakers, authors, and trainers.
Yeah. In fact, I love consuming Bob Proctor's content. And if you go on YouTube, he has an affirmation that loops over and over and over and over again. I am so happy, grateful now that money comes to me in increasing quantities through multiple sources on a continuous basis. You listen to that for 30 minutes a day, you start to believe it a little bit.
I start all my affirmations the same way. And that's where I learned from Bob is I am so happy and grateful now that whatever. And, I've taught that to numerous other people. Everything is in present tense.
Yes. Perfect. We're coming up against our next break. My very special guest is Steve Linton. And when we come back, we will talk about his new upcoming book called The Frequency of Success. We'll talk about why he wrote it, who it's for, and we'll talk about the 6-part flight method to turn your energy for breakthrough results when we come back. This is Success Profiles Radio. Please stay with us. Don't go away. We will be right back. How's that?
Hey, I love the way you do the countdown there. 1 minute, 30, 15, 7. That's cool.
It's perfect. I mean, the music starts at a certain place, so it's a hard stop. And so, yes, I love that. And over the years, I've gotten pretty good at timing it out.
Yeah, that was fantastic.
Thank you. Yeah, I can't wait to talk about your book. This is going to be absolutely amazing. So on a side note, yesterday, you've heard of Kevin Trudeau, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. He did this seminar in the Alps, and I got access to the recordings for free. And so I'm going through it. I've only listened to the first 2 lessons, but it's taking him forever to get to the point. So I'm interested to see how he talks about, manifestation. I probably, maybe in the same way you do. I'm not sure because I don't know yet. But yeah, I heard about him a long, long time ago. And I think a friend of mine sent me the recordings, and I can't find them now. So I was able to find them online.
Their lives wanting more than they currently have. And this show will clearly demonstrate the principles, if I can do it, you can do it. So let's get back to the show. This is Success Profiles Radio. And here again is your host, Brian K. Wright.
And we are back. This is Success Profiles Radio. My very special guest this week is Steve Linton. His book is called The Frequency of Success. But if you've not subscribed to Ultimate Achievers Magazine, please do that. Go to ultimateachieversmagazine.com. The December issue just dropped a few days ago. It's something we do every single month. In fact, this is the 8-year anniversary. Kevin Harrington from Shark Tank was the very first cover in December 2017. I'd be honored if you'd Pick that up. Once again, go to ultimateachieversmagazine.com and subscribe. You can read every single issue going all the way back to 2017. How cool is that? So, Steve, let's talk about your book, The Frequency of Success. Why did you write it and who is it for?
I wrote it initially, I will say for me, but when I say for me, it really wasn't for me. It was proving that I could take what I learned and what I put in place in my life and share it with other people with the expectation of helping other people achieve greatness in their life or their business or relationships or whatever. And it's, as far as who it's for, and I don't like using the term everyone, but in this case, it's for anyone who's struggling financially, personally, with stress, with depression, with family, with relationships, with business, with finances, because going back to the principle, it's a simple law of physics, like frequencies attract. And basically what that means is, I'm sure you know, if I put out negativity, that simple law of physics is going to give me negativity back, negative results. So I know that if I can do this myself and share it with other people and teach them how to do it, a lot of people are going to have a lot better lives than what they've had. And again, that's what drives me. That's what I'm passionate about. But it's getting that information to people, which in my mind, the only way to do that was to write the book.
Yeah, absolutely. So what is the main takeaway you would want for us to have after we've read it?
Well, I guess to put it simply, the main takeaway would be that if you want your life to be a certain way, there's only one thing stopping you, and that's you. You're never competing against other people. You're only competing against yourself. Whatever your desire is, you know, the old saying, if you can dream it, you can be it. If you can, hold an image in your head, you can have it. If your life isn't the way you want it, it's a matter of you choosing to change it. And that's where people drop the ball, because people get involved in the blame game. Look, I was that guy. I was the guy that blamed every single person, including you. It was your fault that I wasn't having success, that I was broke. I was angry. I was pissed off. But until you take that responsibility and say, it's on me, nothing's going to change. And once you do that and you commit to making that change, everything else is pretty simple, because the roadmap to get from where you are to where you want to be is not difficult.
Yeah.
It's a pretty simple formula. It just takes discipline.
Absolutely. And you talk about turning your energy into something that can help you have breakthrough results, and you have a 6-part flight method. So talk about that, please.
The flight method just simply is a schematic to take a complex formula, if you will, which isn't really complex, and break it down into 6 simple steps. The first thing you got to know is where you're at. Where is my frequency right now? And I will talk about something. People that get up every day and start their day by turning on the news and listening to all the garbage that happened, all the crime and the destruction and corruption and war and you name it. That if you start your day that way, well, you've already set yourself back.
Yeah.
And this is where, when I started, my mentor challenged me to do what was called a 30-day fast. Of course, back then we didn't have the internet. And that was no TV, radio, newspapers, anything for 30 days. That alone had such an impact on me. I never really went back. I was never a newspaper reader. I wasn't a big news person. The internet makes that hard because it's everywhere. You're bombarded with our smartphones and all that. But you've got to know where you're at to start with. If we're going to go on a trip, you need 2 pieces of information. One is, where are you right now? And 2 is, where do you want to go? Because I can't figure out the way to get there if I don't know where we're going or where I'm at. So the F is frequency. Where is your frequency right now? Which I have a self-assessment test in the book that lets people know exactly where they're at right now. Then L is letting go. It's letting go of all these limiting beliefs that people have that they've grown up with because their parents, peers, teachers, neighbors, friends, all the people in their inner circle have just bombarded people with these limiting beliefs. Now they do it with good intentions. They do it with thinking I'm helping them, I'm protecting them. I don't want them to get hurt. But what happens is we grow up with these limiting beliefs thinking you can't do that. That's for other people. That's for special people, lucky people, rich people. That's not for me, which is all BS.
Mm-hmm.
So letting go of limiting beliefs is something that everybody has to do. First of all, you have to figure out what they are and realize that they were given to you, that they're not a part of you. If they didn't come from you, they came from somewhere else. So I is intentional input, and that's simply just being intentional about the stuff that you put in your brain, the stuff that you read, listen to, conversations you have, the people you hang out with. You know, the old saying is if you want to be good at sports, hang around people that are better than you are, that was always my philosophy even before I knew about this. If I played a sport, I wanted to play with people better than me because that made me better. If you hang out with millionaires, you'll be a millionaire. If you hang out with losers, you're going to be a loser. Intentional input is just being very deliberate about what you put in your brain and the people you hang out with. So then we go to grounded growth. Grounded growth is simply just what it says. It's relying more on what's real, kind of like a tree growing roots in the ground. You want to be intentional about your growth habits. Stay away from trends, escapism. Try to focus on authentic connections. Grounded growth is just avoiding all the BS that's out there and really being intentional about your growth period or your growth path. Yeah. So then we go to H, which is high vibe output. And that is just keeping your frequency high all the time. It's no different than a tuning fork. If I continue to vibrate at a low frequency, I continue to attract low frequency results. Well, if that's true, then I should be able to raise my frequency and attract positive results. That makes sense?
Mm-hmm.
So by doing that, or a way to do that is by, one, being very conscious of what you put in your brain, what you listen to. For me, music, being around great people, that is one of the biggest things. If the people that you hang out with tend to always be negative, always talking about drama stuff and what's wrong. A lot of corporate jobs, people stand around the water cooler and they talk about, did you hear what happened with so-and-so? Yeah. Avoid that stuff. You have to avoid that. Being intentional about the people that you hang out with. If they've got a high vibe, you'll have a high vibe. So having a high vibration is paramount. You have to have that and you've got to keep it. So as I said in the beginning, this is simple, but it's not easy because it requires discipline. And you have to be disciplined if you're going to do this because everybody's got up and down days, right? There's days when I wake up and I'm, cranky or a bad mood or, the dog bit me or whatever. How do you counteract that and get yourself back into a positive vibration? If you've ever driven on some of the freeways in Arizona, you probably know that can ruin your vibration. So you have to have a way to counter that. And then the last thing is transformation. When you apply all these principles, you transform. You're set for takeoff. You are transforming into this high vibration that attracts high vibration results. Mm-hmm. That's the flight method.
Absolutely.
Little oversimplified.
Yeah. I lived in Arizona for 26 years. I moved back to Iowa 3 years ago. So I know exactly what you're talking about.
I grew up in Missouri, so I know what winters are like.
Oh, for sure, for sure, for sure. We've got 2 minutes until our final break. Let's talk about visualization. It's so important to see yourself as already possessing the thing that you want, right?
That is one of the biggest things I learned from Bob Proctor was visualization. And, as like I said a minute ago, if you can see it in your mind, you can hold it in your hand. And Bob was instrumental in me learning that it doesn't matter what happened yesterday. It doesn't matter where you've been, what you've been through. It doesn't matter whether you had good results or bad results. It only matters what do you want to do from right now. So if I visualize myself as the top income earner, as the best person, best friend, best husband I can be, and when I say visualize, I don't mean just like, oh yeah, I think I'd be a positive person. No, I'm talking about close your eyes, spend 10 minutes in the morning, 10 minutes in the evening, visualizing yourself. Close your eyes, see yourself in that atmosphere that you want to be, the better person, and visualize yourself already in attainment of that which you desire, whether it's a job or a level or a finance. As long as you can visualize that, you get all your senses involved, you are reprogramming your subconscious mind to that is my new reality. And that's what visualization does. It reprograms your subconscious mind.
That is absolutely fantastic. We are coming up against our final break. I cannot believe how quickly this is going. When we come back, we will talk about the importance of acknowledging your wins and revisiting them. We will talk about the importance of the words we say to ourselves. I will ask Steve what his thoughts are on the book, The Secret. I loved that book and it helped me, but there are some things missing, and we'll talk about some of those. And then we'll talk about how to raise your frequency, because we've teased that topic a couple times, but we haven't really talked about how you do it. So we're going to do that too. So we will be right back around the corner. This is Success Profiles Radio. Oh, yes.
Okay. Hey, before I forget, can I get a recording of this?
Yes. Yes, in fact, I will be giving the replay once it's available.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah, you'll be getting the replay. Let's see, today is Monday. I'm guessing Thursday-ish. It might be
no
a
problem.
day or two either side.
Yeah, no problem.
You'll
Just
get it.
was hoping I could use a little bit of it for social media and what have you.
Oh, please do that. Yes. That'd be amazing. I'd love that.
The affirmations and visualizations are the two things that Bob Proctor really drove home for me.
Mhm.
And I will say those two things alone probably made as big an impact as anything else that I've learned.
Yeah.
So, that stuff hits pretty home for me.
Yeah, for sure. I interviewed Dennis Whaley a few years ago, and he talked about how he helped Olympic athletes by having them visualize their performance in advance, because the mind doesn't distinguish between real and imagined. So if you,
I'm going to touch on that.
good.
And, when I was a skydiving videographer, we do what are called dirt dives. And you basically dive the entire sequence on the ground on creepers. And then when you're riding up to altitude, all the skydivers, you'll see them, they'll close their eyes and they'll do this.
Live their lives wanting more than they currently have. And this show will clearly demonstrate the principles: if I can do it, you can do it. So let's get back to the show. This is Success Profiles Radio. And here again is your host, Brian K. Wright.
And we are back. Down the stretch we come. My very special guest is Steve Linton. His book is called The Frequency of Success. And I want to ask you about the importance of acknowledging our wins and even revisiting them, because I think sometimes we forget where we win.
Absolutely. And when I train with people that I've worked with in the past, I highly recommend they start two binders. One is current goals and the other one is achieved goals. And the reason I do that is, one, if you don't have a goal that's written out, it's a wish. You've got to write them out. And I'm not talking about on your computer, your smartphone. You physically write it out with a pen or pencil on paper. That has so much power in your subconscious mind, people don't realize. But you also have in addition to the current goal book, you have an achieved goal book. And the reason I have the achieved goal book, people say, well, I'm just getting started. I don't have anything to put in the achieved goal book, because the purpose of the achieved goal book is to remind you of how good you are, what you've already done.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if I'm just starting, there's nothing in there. I said, BS. Here's what you do. You go back through your life. And for me, it wasn't hard. I went back through my life and said, look at everything I've done. I was in the Marine Corps. I went to college. I was the first person to get a master's degree in my family. I wrote my first book. I became a speaker. I did all these things. I was a pilot, skydiver, all this stuff. And I'm like, that's not anything to just slough off.
Right.
I wrote those all up as goals and put them in my achieved goal binder. So basically what I did was I took all the goals, my current goals, and once I achieved them, I put them in my achieved goal binder. So then when you're having a tough day, feeling kind of down, you go back through your achieved goal binder and you go, look what I did.
Yeah.
This has a profound impact on your emotional, your attitude going forward.
Mm-hmm.
So revisiting goals is essential. You have to celebrate those wins, even the little ones, because little wins, they turn into big wins.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. So let's talk about the importance of the words we say to ourselves, because I think a lot of our talk is inherently negative self-talk, and that can do a lot of damage.
That's a big one. And Bob Proctor was really big on this. We immediately decided, okay, we've got to get rid of some words in our vocabulary.
Mm-hmm.
Can't, wish, hope, try, need, all these words that are what I call poverty conscious words,
Mm-hmm.
and trade them out. Let's swap them out with some prosperity conscious words like deserve, do, have, be, do, have. Things that, again, tell your subconscious mind that you're already there. And going back to something I said a minute ago, the subconscious mind, as you just said, does not know the difference between truth and a lie. It has no ability to reject anything. Well, the great part about that, Brian, is we can reprogram our subconscious mind with lies. Meaning, I can tell my subconscious mind that I'm a multiple 6 or 7 figure income earner, or I'm the CEO of this company, or I can tell my subconscious mind anything. And if I do it religiously with discipline and emotion, and I'm doing those affirmations and visualizations, I'm reprogramming. Your subconscious mind says, oh, well, I guess this is what the new reality is. And it puts in place the things that need to happen for that to manifest in physical reality. And people tend to get that wrong. They think, well, I can't do that because I don't have this, or, everybody makes excuses, but those words that they use every day have a profound negative effect. And so, as you said, changing your vocabulary out to a more positive, that tells your subconscious mind that, hey, this is where we're headed.
Yeah, for sure. How do you view failure?
Failure is not failure. Failure is a learning. I tell people, if you set a goal and you don't reach it, change the date and reset it. Failure is not a life sentence. It's a lesson. So, okay, I failed. Now I know how not to do it. Failure is a part of achieving greatness. It's a part of being successful. There is not a person out there that has ever achieved any amount of success that didn't have equally as many failures.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at athletes like Michael Jordan, that guy, he got kicked off their high school basketball team. So my point is that you've got to believe in yourself. You've got to tell your subconscious mind what it is that your destination is. Where is your destination? What does it look like?
Absolutely. So tell us your thoughts on the book, The Secret. It was wildly popular a couple decades ago. A lot of people got a lot of stuff out of it, but then there's something missing. So tell us what you think about that.
And look, I will never knock the book. I've got two or three copies of it right here in my library.
I have it too.
Great book, but it was missing something. And we talked about it a little bit ago. It's missing action.
Mm-hmm.
You can sit around all day and think positively and you can visualize, but if you don't take action, it's not going to happen.
Right.
So as much as I love The Secret, it did miss that point that we have to take action. We have to get up off our butt and do the work. Nobody said this was going to be easy. I said it was simple.
Mm-hmm.
Easy is completely different.
Yeah.
And, it's not for everybody because some people just don't have the wherewithal
Mm-hmm.
to plug through the discipline part of it. Now, what I will tell you is just give it a shot and put your effort into it. I'm always willing to help people because I know what this information did for me, and I know what it can do for literally anybody that truly wants to make a change in their life. And that's who I'm looking to help.
Absolutely. We have talked a little bit about raising your frequency, but let's talk about some actionable things that you can do to make that happen.
Everybody's going to be a little bit different. There are lots of things that you can do to raise your frequency. And as I said, everybody's going to be a little different. For me, music is a big one. I can change my mood in a heartbeat with just listening to the right music or listening to either an audiobook or something. I don't read as much as I listen to audiobooks because I have trouble sitting still very long. But whether it's an audio program or an audiobook, listening to people like Bob Proctor, Wayne Dyer, Jack Canfield, Mark Victor Hansen, all these people, that motivates me. That changes my frequency. You'll probably laugh at this, but silly animal videos completely raise my vibration. Just watching puppy videos, and people are going to scoff at that, but you know what? It works for me. Yeah. I can go from a bad mood to a good mood like that, just watching silly animal videos. Yeah. But again, like I said, it's going to be different for everybody. One of the best things I can tell people to do, I'm going to give you a couple of things. Number one, do something for someone that you don't even know with nothing expected in return. I promise you that will raise your vibration. You will go away from that experience completely different. And that made a big difference for me early on, was realizing that the more I help other people, the more things that come back to me. The surest way to get anything you want in life is help other people get what they want. Mm-hmm. So I know if I can do something nice for somebody that I don't even know with absolutely nothing expected in return, my vibration goes way up.
Absolutely. Let's talk a little bit about your coaching program. How do you help people?
Well, we do group coaching and I do one-on-one coaching. Basically, it's getting people out of their own way. Most people, just like when I was just starting, I didn't have a clue of how to get from point A to point B. I didn't even know what my point B was going to be. I just knew that I was struggling and I didn't know how to get out of it. Well, enter someone like me. Someone came into my life and basically coached me through. And so now I work with people. What we do is we spend about an hour and I'll go through everything that's going on in their life. And I mean everything. How do they start their day? Who do they hang out with? What kind of people are they? What do they do for work? And I identify all the negative pitfalls that they could be falling into. And it actually goes really fast because once people get, oh my gosh, I see what you're talking about, they start to change pretty quick. And once they get that, the change becomes pretty simple. Yeah. They know if they're serious, they know that if they just correct these negative pitfalls, they're going to be doing well.
Absolutely. And as we wind up, how can we find you? How can we work with you and learn more from you and about you?
thefrequencyofsuccess.com. You can email me at Steve Linton at steve@stevelinton.net, and I'll be happy to answer questions if anybody's got questions or wants feedback, or heck, you know what, just wants to know, hey, am I someone that can get through whatever I want to get through? Absolutely. Fantastic. I call it a free consultation, if you will. But and if somebody wants in a coaching program, we've got plenty of spots. But again, the passion is helping other people achieve great things in their lives.
Fantastic. And the book is called The Frequency of Success. Is it out yet?
Unfortunately, it's not. It was supposed to be out by the end of the year, and now they're telling me it's going to be February 17th. We're still trying to get it out in January, but there is an early access list on my website, thefrequencyofsuccess.com.
Fantastic. Steve, thanks for being here. This was fun.
Thank you, Brian. I appreciate it. I enjoyed it.
And thank you all for listening. This has been Success Profiles Radio. Join us every Monday at 6 p.m. Eastern, where I interview another world-class achiever, learn what they did, what they overcame, and the lessons we can learn along the way. Until next week, take care, everyone. Goodbye.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much. This was fun.
Yeah, I apologize for not having the book out already. It's
okay.
taken a little bit longer than it should have. But
okay.
Again, we started this thing early this year and was supposed to be out in October.